Hi friends, I hope you're having a lovely day today. Today I want to have a conversation with you about one of the most powerful tools in street photography, and that is context. I think that many street photos suffer from a lack of taking advantage of context that is all around. And sometimes context is achieved by backing up and using more of the environment. Sometimes context is achieved by getting in close on the details. So the art of context is the art of adding or removing elements of a scene to tell a compelling story. And there are many different ways you can go with any scene and subject, but the point is to be intentional. For example, if you have a middle-aged white man with a Make America Great Again hat, it would be good to get in close on his face and capture those details. However, if you have a group of feminists protesting in the background with signs that say Hillary, it might be good to include some more of the environment and have that juxtaposition. Disengage your typing thumbs. I made fun of both parties equally. So for example, you have this photo of a guy with his camera. It would be easy to take the standard portrait where, you put his head right below the top of the frame and right above waist level, kind of that sort of thing. But the photographer did something interesting here. He or she decided to back up and capture some more of the environment as well as the people moving around. They also dropped the shutter speed so that there's a sense of motion from everyone around him while he's standing perfectly still. This gives this sense of him being integrated into the scene where he is, but also set apart. And it's an interesting use of context. Here's another photo I really enjoy of this guy doing some gnarly flatland riding in a garage. And I appreciate that the photographer decided to get way back and capture this sense of space and context. And you see this person just has all this room to ride around. And it feels very adventurous and explorative. And I think it really works out here. It would be a completely different photo if the photographer decided to either zoom in or be closer to the person. I think this photo is very unique because of that. And here we have a very interesting environmental portrait photo of this guy in his record store. And this photo would really not be the same photo if the photographer decided to get untight, and take out all of this context, all these beautiful vinyl records hanging around, and it says Jesus Christ down there. It's just all over the place, and it really adds to the photo and the context and gives you a sense of immersion into this guy's environment and his life, his everyday life. This photo is interesting and compelling because it's a photo about him and his environment, not just him with an environment behind him. And that's a very distinct and very important difference. So a photo that goes the opposite direction is this photo I took a while back of this girl with her key necklace. This key was very important to this girl because her mom had died and she found it in her mom's jewelry box. Because of that, I decided to get in close and capture the key and take out pretty much all of the environment, just enough to tell that she's on a wall, on the street, that sort of thing. But the context, the beautiful context was this key, this thing that meant so much to her, that had so much emotional weight. I think if I would have backed up and went after a more standard portrait, this photo would have lost a personal feel. This photo is another example of removing the environment to create compelling context. This photo did not need the environment. The point of this photo is this guy is jumping over a freaking bench while his skateboard goes up under it. If I tried this on my board, my leg bones would be outside of my body. The photographer chose some very unique framing in order to tell this story. You don't see the top of the person. You just see how high the person is. You see his shoes flying up over the bench, and it's an extremely interesting and engaging photo because of that. The angle and the placement of the skater, having his legs shoot out the top of the frame, makes it feel like he's getting intense air. It makes the photo feel more wicked sick, if you will. Another example of lack of environment is this photo of this lovely old couple laughing about something in particular. And this one also works because without an environment, essentially, because the idea is that it's these beautiful expressions. It's the expressions that are the story, not the environment. In fact, the environment seems a bit messy, so it's probably better that the photographer got in close on the couple, but included just enough to have context of where they are and what's around them. This photo actually has some very unique framing now that I look at it. And last, we have this photo of a girl taken by my friend Will Crooks. And in this photo, you have very little context to where she is. I mean, I know where she is because I used to live in that city, but but you have very little context. The background's very blown out and bokehfied, and the focal point is this very interesting and stylish girl. Her, this human, this Homo sapien, was the focus. So Will decided to place the hardcore focus directly on her, and he executed on that goal very well. So that's it. I would encourage you to continue to be intentional and continue to grow your eye around this idea of context in your photography. It can be hard. It can be very difficult on the streets, and sometimes it feels quite impossible. So a couple of things. One, I would encourage you to maybe go out and focus on one thing at a time. So maybe you focus one day, you go out and you go, what's an insanely interesting detail about this particular person that I just ran into? Or maybe you go out with backgrounds in mind and you decide to think background first and figure out how to incorporate people into your backgrounds, or think about how you can integrate somebody with a background, how they play into the background. But continue to think dynamically about what you want the focal points of your photo to be. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was inspiring. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. Goodbye.